Good morning, it's Mona, and this is my morning view. Today, it is summer edition 2026. Really hot, really hot. Like I've done nothing and I'm sweating. Okay, so, yeah, let's just get the pools of water off my face for a minute. Today's Fiesty Friday. I don't know how much feistiness I have in me right now because it's hot. I did not work today because it's hot. So I was going to talk about 4th of July stuff. Like on Wednesday, I mentioned I was going to mention it on each day this week, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and yesterday after I finished Thursday Thinking Thursday, I forgot to mention anything about 4th of July. So, so there's that. All right. Well-made plans by mice and men, right? Okay, so let's moving right along. We're going to think of something. We're going to think of something. All right. Let's go with patriotism. Patriotism, because that is a very controversial subject right now with Americans, and I don't know why, because, you know, if you're not proud to be an American, what, A, are you doing about it? Two, what injustice are you seeing that's causing you not to be proud to be an American? It doesn't matter who's in the White House. You shouldn't go by, you know, who's in the White House deciding whether you like America or not. When there's people from the opposite party to the party that I normally vote, I'm still proud to be an American. I still love the United States of America. Okay, this can get feisty. So I'm proud to be an American. I served in the military. I'm willing to give my life for this country. I signed that line that said I was willing to do that. Okay. What has the United States done for me? As far as like perks, you know, that are above and beyond the perks of anybody else for doing that? Not much. So, so if you ask any veteran about how, you know, the government has benefited them, it's clear back to George Washington days, right? There has always been a to the veteran, always. And so there's a lot of veterans that are, you know, disgruntled is not the word I want to use. It's more like disheartened. They were willing to give their life for the country, and the country doesn't want to help them with possibly injuries or anything else that they may have had during that service time. It's not a matter of I want extra this or extra that. It's like I now have a disability, and, you know, even in golf you get, you know, a disability. You know, but so anyways, see, I gotta say this delicately. I'm proud to be an American. I believe in your rights to vote. I believe in your rights to free speech. I don't like when your free speech tries to take away my free speech. Okay, so there's that. That you can say whatever you can say, but nobody else can say anything because it's opposite to what you line your life with. That regard, that's it doesn't matter what side you're on. I'm not talking left, right, upside down. I'm talking in general. You, me, the United States. People. The people of the United States of America. your freedoms should not infringe on other people's freedoms. That doesn't mean your freedoms don't infringe on on getting more than what you deserve. Because what do you deserve? Right? What do you deserve? And so we get flustered sometimes. I hear it a lot about illegal immigrants getting free this and free that and free this and free that. And I don't know how much of that is going on. You know, I haven't did a deep dive into how much freebies that illegal immigrants get compared to, you know, like elderly and children. Because I'm more about protecting elderly and children. I think the healthcare system for the elderly sucks. This Medicare sucks. I'll tell you straight out. And how they have it set up sucks. And it doesn't do anything for the elderly. Now, yesterday, I was talking about the widows, right? How the widows were, they had daily distribution. That actually came from an Old Testament concept. Not exactly the way they were doing it, because there were certain things that had changed from the time that it was set up to that time. And Paul reiterates the idea of what is what constitutes a widow, because it had to be one with no family, no son to take care of her. Okay, if they had no son to take care of her, then how was she going to, you know, take care of herself? In the Old Testament, they gleaned. The farmers had to only do their crop once. They couldn't go after it again. Any fruit that popped up after their harvest belonged to the widows and the orphans and, you know, the poor, the alien, right? The foreigner. That's what it says in the Bible, the foreigner. So it was taking care of the foreigner. It was taking care of the widow. It was taking care of. So biblically, we should be taking care of the foreigner. My stand as a veteran and a U.S. citizen is that we should be taking care of our own first, and then take care of the foreigner. But it started as a church institution, not a government institution. The government could care less. And so in today's world, the government can flip-flop. So we don't talk about, you know, we can be disgruntled with the government and not proud of our government and still be a proud citizen of the United States of America. So, so all these people who say America sucks and America, you know, in the United States is horrible and, you know, leave. And then you don't have to worry about us anymore. You can deal with whatever country you decide is better. Basically, that's it. Bye-bye. See you later. Don't let the door hit you in the arse on the way out. Told you it's feisty. Now, this is where it gets controversial. As a Christian, how do you respond to those things like foreigners getting freebies? How do you respond to people coming into your country and having open borders? The Bible is very clear about having borders. Heaven has borders. The cities and countries of biblical days had borders, to include Jerusalem, to include Judea, to include Israel, you know, all of Israel, back when it was all of Israel. And then it got split between Israel and Judea, right? There were borders. There was actual lines. You could say that these are the borders. And yes, they welcomed foreigners, but they did not welcome bandits. They didn't welcome people that were going to come in and change their ways. Their ways are their ways. You had to conform to them. You had to, the Sunday, the day of rest, any foreigner dwelling with you had to also obey that day of rest, right? So it was a matter of you obey the laws of the land. Whatever land you're in, you obey the laws of the land, unless it goes against God's laws. So if a land is telling you that you need to go murder people, you don't have to go murder people. You may be put to death for that, but you don't have to do it, right? And then that person will probably get murdered anyway. But where is your soul in that space, right? So, yeah, I don't know what I'm allowed to say here. Maybe that should have been bleeped out. You know, there's certain words. The M word, the R word. People use the F word. I don't know if they use it on Facebook. I don't know. I think they have. So anyways, boundaries are set up as things that should be. And allowing who you allow in is important. But once they're here, right, like we had open borders and a whole bunch of people crossed the borders. And now, you know, there's just lots of people, and what do you do with them? As Christians, we should love them. As Christians, we should love them. Should they go through the legal system? Yeah. They should. But we're to love them. And patriotism and Christianity are not equal. Just because you're a patriot doesn't mean you're a Christian, and just because you're a Christian doesn't mean that you have to follow the letter of the patriotism, to the letter of the law of the country, and how the country is swaying one way or the other. Getting involved in politics is, I usually don't talk about politics, by the way. Getting involved with politics, there's nothing wrong with getting involved with politics. And you do it with your Christian convictions, right? But you're doing that on your own. Like, you're not going to be going into politics representing your denomination or your church, right? You go in representing who you are as a Christian. See, I'm not anti-political. I think that there should be Christian people in politics. I do. I absolutely do. Because if you leave all of politics to those that are not Christians, then you know that there's not going to be some good laws passed and good things. There might be some good things, but you're not going to have that godly perspective of order and justice. So it's important for Christians to be involved. But when you have your church represent a certain party, you are alienating a lot of people from entering into your doors. There may be a space for that, for your particular church. If that's where your church is, there may be people that come into your doors because you side with a certain side. But when you go announcing that, you are cutting off a large majority of unbelievers from ever entering into your door. And the ones that do enter your door, because they have this, a lot of them that do not know the Lord, right? But because Christianity and patriotism have done this in their mind, right? They can't really tell the difference. And so they think that they are saved, and they may never get saved because they already think that they are saved. Because they're patriotic. And those that are Christians, that, like I said, I'm a Christian and I'm patriotic. And when I vote with the conscience of what the Word of God tells me. What does the Word of God say things should be? There's some areas that are a little on the gray side, and we use wisdom for those things, or at least try to use wisdom for those things. When the Founding Fathers started the United States of America, they didn't want the government as a church organization dictating how they were going to worship, how they were going to live their lives. That's why the Pilgrims left, right? That's why the Pilgrims left, long before our country became a country. And so the Pilgrims didn't want to be persecuted for their beliefs. And since the government in England had their own church, we call it the Anglican Church, the Church of England, and the king presided over that. And that was not what, our founding fathers wanted. So that's, even though it doesn't say in the Constitution separation of church and state, that's where we get that concept of separation of church and state, in the sense that they don't want a church running their faith. Not faith being out of politics altogether. So understand that. It's not saying that the church can't get involved with politics. It's saying that they don't want politics dictating to the church. And if you have one church doing that, then it's going to squash other belief systems. However, you also have to remember that the majority of people in the United States, minus the Native Americans, were Christians. They were Christians. One God. Jesus, Son of God, God incarnate, came to the world. Now, yeah, you have some deisms, and you have this and that, but they all came down to they believed in the one God, true God, the God that created us, the God of the Bible. That's the God that they knew. So even if they weren't Christians, a lot of them were. There was like 150, 150 pastors that were signers of the Declaration, or 147 or something. It was whatever number it was. There was a large majority of those that signed the Declaration of Independence were ministers. And so to say that they were looking at all the different religions of the world, they weren't looking at all the different religions of the world. They were looking at all the different Christian denominations at that time in the world. Since then, there's been a whole lot more, and it could be a good thing and a bad thing. You could have people that leave the church because it's better for them to leave the church. And there's some that it really wasn't that much of a rift. Why split the church over something so minuscule? like post-trib, pre-trib type thing, right? You don't split the church over that. There's probably different views in one church on that subject, but they haven't split the church over it yet. But there's other things that they have. So there's always this dividing of the church. But as long as we get along, as long as we love one another, as long as we know that we are brothers and sisters in Christ, regardless of our theology, then as long as our theology is the one true God, the creator of heaven and earth, the biblical God, then we're good, right? We can go to different churches with different flavors, with different personalities, right? Not different doctrines. When I talk doctrines, I'm talking about the important stuff. Like I said, the Apostles' Creed type of thing, right? So as Christians, stepping into politics, are you being led to step into politics, as in being a politician? Because, like I said, that is important for Christians to be in that realm. It's important that all of the people in the United States have some sort of representation, right? But for you to have your freedoms, to squelch somebody else's freedoms, that is not good. So we have a lot of people out there that are they can be wrong. They can have their wrong opinion. They can have their, wrong way of living, and believe in their heart that they are right clear down to the bone, and you're wrong, and then they try to shut you up. You do not have to be shut up. You have the freedom of speech. Like I said on Wednesday, you have the freedom of speech. We have a lot of freedoms here in the United States as U.S. citizens. We don't always recognize those freedoms, right? It's not about what we can get, how much we can get. It's about those unalienable freedoms that we have, those unalienable rights. So, if we don't confuse Christianity and patriotism, if we don't merge them together in this space that you can't tell the difference between one from the other, that is not good. Because whenever you bring God equal with something else, idols get formed. Idols get formed because now God is not above and God is not equal. He is not beneath and He is not equal. So when we equalize things and we say they're the same, we're running into trouble. We're running into trouble. It's hard to think when it's hot. So what do we do with, there's this space for those places, but I don't believe that they should be in the church. I believe Christians should be part of these things. Making sure that their country is the way that it's supposed to be, and not merged into something else that the founding fathers wanted no part of. And there's a lot of people blind to that. They're blind to what's going on. They're blind to things going on in like Minnesota. Minnesota. When you have religion governing the people. I've said multiple times, you can't govern morality. People are going to do what they do. You can have certain laws in place to protect those that are innocent, but people are going to do what they do. And there's a lot of things that keep happening that are a waste of taxpayer dollars over tit for tat on both sides, when other things that should be taken care of aren't being taken care of. Like, hello, Epstein files. I'd like to see some people in jail. A lot of them. Have we seen that? No, not one. Except for Epstein himself. That's a morality you can go up against. You know, protecting children, protecting the elderly. The Bible said there was a curse on those that did not that stalled on giving justice to the widow. They stalled on getting justice to the widow. They would have a curse. And when I say widow now, in my thought, in my context, is the elderly in general, right? There's a lot of name changes of things, you know. Let's change all the military bases to a different name. Waste of taxpayer money. Let's change them back. Waste of taxpayer money. Let's change the name of certain bodies of water and whatever. Buildings. Waste of taxpayer money. Names are important, but it's not necessary. Not necessary. We complain about a lot of things, but then we allow the government and governing bodies to do what they want with. When was it no longer we the people, by the people, for the people? It became politician for politician for politician. And forget the rest of the people. And that might be a lot of reason why people are angry. People are upset. I don't get upset about it. And the reason why I don't get upset about it is because what does me getting upset about it do other than cause me health issues, cause me anxiety, cause me problems, right? I don't feel called to the government system, so the only thing I can do is vote. If I knew how to do anything else, I would. There's a lot of injustices that I find that is like the thing that just gets me. Like, it's just the injustice of this or the injustice of that. And when I see injustice, I'm ready to fly off the handle. I'm ready to put on my armor and start swinging swords. But like I said a couple of days ago, somebody called me the daughter of thunder. James and John, let's bring lightning down on their heads, you know. So it might be a good thing that I'm not in that space, because I would be like Peter and chopping off ears. If Jesus hadn't have healed the ear of that servant of the high priest, he would have been guilty of a crime and would have been arrested that night. But he knew that none of them were to be arrested that night. Just him. I forgot to turn off the thing. There it is. So we have to be mindful, and careful of what we are doing in the name of justice. But the biggest thing that I want you to take away from this today is that you don't marry patriotism with Christianity. God is not an American. Does he care about the United States of America? Sure. But he's not American. He's not a Democrat. He's not a Republican. He's not even an independent. He's none of the parties. He's not a Yankee. He's not a Met. He's not a San Francisco Giant. For those who like baseball. He's not a Giant or a Jet or a 49er. He's not. Does he have people that serve in those capacities? He absolutely does. He absolutely does. And that's how we need to look at politics in the same way. We're on a team. We're playing for our team, but our team is not our God. And when it comes to people and human beings, we are to love them and not put our politics over the love of Christ, because it doesn't belong there. All right, that's all I got. Told you it was a feisty Friday. I wasn't very feisty about it because it's hot and miserable, and yeah, I don't handle the heat well. So anyways, I think that's all I got for you. Be kind. Be loving. Celebrate that you're an American. Celebrate that you're a citizen of the United States of America. Be proud that you're an American citizen. I'm not saying don't, and I'm not saying fight for what's right. I'm not saying don't fight for what's right. I'm just saying we have to be watchful and mindful of who we put up here and what we merge together, or what we put down there. Because sometimes we will leave our Christianity to do politics, right? And then that puts your Christianity below politics, which makes that an idol, because you're bowing down to it. You're bowing down to it. Don't bow down. God's not going to bow down. God's not going to be part of that mix. He is for governments. He chooses who is in control and who isn't. He has a bigger picture, a bigger plan than you and I. And sometimes when we end up with governmental bodies like Alexander the Great or Caesar, you know, or whoever else that's in charge, God knows who's in charge. God knows what they're up to. Doesn't mean it's what he wants them to do, but he already knows what they're going to do. But it may catalyst into a space that needs to take place for other things to take place. I'm moving things around in my house. And in order for me to get to this space, I need to move things in this space. So it's a little Tetris game. All right. I've rambled on enough. Blessings, everybody. Have a great day. Make sure you go over to YouTube, Mona E. Harrison, different than my Facebook profile, where you can watch my videos on fast speed. Facebook only allows them to be on for 30 days. YouTube, they're on indefinitely for as long as I know of, but that could change, just like Facebook. So, lost a lot of content with them taking it down. So yeah, go over to YouTube. Watch me there, Mona E. Harrison. Subscribe, like, share, comment, and get all the bells and whistles. All right, blessings, everybody. Thank you, Joey, for watching, and I will see you all on Monday. Bye.